Chapter 1-6. The phone lying on the nightstand abruptly starts ringing. It sets the alarm for 6 in the morning. Feng Qin quickly jumps up from the bed. He immediately gets to his feet, noting that it's time for him to get up. He realizes that today will be the day when everything starts. A familiar voice from the other side of the door shouts for the guy to get up, hinting that if he doesn't, he'll be late on the first day. The brunette responds to these words, stating that you know everything. After that, he notes to himself that a very epic moment was ruined for him. He lets out a calming breath, then repeats his words about how his hell is going to start today. 10 minutes later, Feng Qin is transformed beyond recognition. He puts on a wig, which has a generally blonde hair color, but the tips of the curls have the following colors: orange, light green, and purple. He also wears a bugoha suit. On the face, the hero applies purple shadows, foundation, and a little purple lip gloss. The guy notes that he is a real handsome man. Feng Qin thinks that his plan is a win-win, because no girl would want to get involved with such a guy. Walking down the street, the guy still cannot get used to the new attributes of his appearance. He notes that because of the wig, he can't see anything. As he approaches Chunnan High School for Girls, several expensive cars stop nearby. Seeing that the students themselves drive such expensive cars, the hero understands that very rich people study here. In his mind's eye, he thinks about how strange it is that they don't come by helicopter yet. At this moment, as if despite his thoughts, a strong gust of wind rises, and a red helicopter begins to land from the sky. Then Feng Qin almost gets an electric shock, because he is horrified to realize that someone is actually arriving at the school by helicopter. The guy makes a hand gesture to his face, very much feeling the fact that he was not at ease. Seeing expensive cars and a helicopter, he begins to feel like a real homeless person. Feng Qin quickly regains his composure, realizing that he might be late for class if he didn't hurry to class. Then he hears a woman's voice from the side, which requires no one to run. The hero looks closer and sees a girl in a school uniform with a katana in her hands. She has long black hair and expressive dark eyes, and wears a disciplinary committee armband on her shoulder. Feng Qin realizes that this is the same girl he met at the lake recently. The hero does not like it at all, because everything looks like some kind of joke. The guy hides behind a pillar, trying not to show himself to the girl. He notices that a representative of the fair sex is a member of the disciplinary committee. Feng Qin tries to figure out what to do, because if she recognizes him, he will definitely be a dead man. The hero goes back, assuming that there must be another way to school. He stops abruptly, realizing that he doesn't have much time. Feng Qin carefully looks at the fence, realizing that in principle, he can climb over the wall. The guy quickly makes his way to the Chunnan High School grounds without anyone seeing him. He presses himself against the wall, letting out a sigh of calm and noticing that now he needs to find a homeroom teacher. The hero quickly finds the right door, then knocks on it and enters with words of apology for the trouble. In the room is a girl with black hair, which is tied in a single bun on her head. Until she was disturbed, she went about her business at the computer. In order not to waste time, Feng Qin tells her that he is a new student in her class. At the same time, he introduces himself and respectfully addresses the interlocutor as Miss Tan. After a quick glance at the new student, the girl remembers that Miss Lai Sung warned her about the transfer of a new student. She stands up from her seat, asking Feng Qin to follow him. She's going to walk him to class. The hero trails behind Miss Tan. As he walks down the corridor, he hears two female students talking. One of them says that the guy is new to school. Her friend also notices that the hero looks quite strange. Feng Qin is fast enough. It gets to the class marked Odin. When the boy enters the classroom with the homeroom teacher, there is absolute silence. Miss Tan asks the class to pay attention to themselves. The hero is standing at the board at this time. The girl introduces the new student, showing her hopes that the female students will make friends with him. At this point, Feng Qin decides to act according to his plan. He gives a crazy look, confidently introducing himself and saying that his favorite hobby is a good fight. But the guy doesn't get the reaction he planned. Representatives of the fair sex are more surprised than frightened by his words. This confuses him. Realizing that he is about to fail, Feng Qin puts on the most angry face possible, stating that he hates it when someone comes closer to him than half a meter, and the last one who broke this rule is still collecting money for treatment. At the same time, it becomes clear from the hero's face that he is asking everyone present a question about whether he is expressing himself clearly. The reaction of the students again breaks all sound logic. They start saying that he is a real man, and someone thinks he is very cool. This causes dissonance in a guy who doesn't understand what he's doing wrong. Feng Qin continues to make a vicious face, horrified by what is happening. He doesn't understand what's wrong with these girls, because, according to his logic, they should have been scared. Chapter 1-7. After listening to the new student's speech to the end, Miss Tan nervously asks him to sit at an empty table next to Han Yuding. There is absolute silence as Feng Qin walks over to his seat and sits down. In his mind's eye, however, he notices that he feels somewhat awkward. The guy wonders what he should do. Then he remembers his first priority, which is to find the 4 witches. They decide to introduce all 4 witches to us. The first witch is called Moya Zhao. This is a girl with red hair and deep burgundy eyes. She has a haircut in the form of a square on her head, as well as small cans, which are almost invisible. The second witch is Wei Wei Tong. She has pink hair that hangs down to her waist, expressive blue eyes that can easily drown, and very large pineapples under her neck, the size of which can be envied by many. The first 2 witches watch the hero with interest. The third witch is called Tong Fei Lu. She has short blue hair and green eyes. She is very dissatisfied with the appearance of the opposite sex in their class, which can be read on her face. The size of her bumps is not inferior to the size of Wei Wei Tong. The last witch is a girl with dark blue hair. She doesn't pay any attention to what's going on around her, completely focusing her attention on the console in her hands. The right side of her face is framed by bangs. Unlike the other students, she wears a thin windbreaker with long sleeves over her school clothes. Her name is Xiaoxu Nangong. Looking around at his surroundings, the hero realizes that all his classmates are really real beauties, but he decides not to lose his vigilance and be very careful with them. He turns his gaze to the woman next to him. He greets her, then notes that she seems familiar to him, so he asks if they haven't met anywhere else before. Han Yuding is greatly startled by the other person's words. She panics and says that they haven't seen each other anywhere, and that the other person has confused her with someone else. The representative of the beautiful with pink hair begins to tremble all over under the guy's gaze. There's an awkward silence. At this time, in the student council office, the girls are discussing the fact that a new boy has been transferred to their school. A girl with yellow eyes and blonde hair is sitting at the table. In her hand is a glass of some liquid. She rocks it like it's wine. This is Linya Sun. She is the president of the student council. The blonde notes that it is true that a new boy was transferred to the school because her mother did it. Meanwhile, the brunette, who became the first girl that the hero met at school, thinks about the words of the head of the student council. It seems strange to her. The fact that the guy was transferred personally by the headmistress, so the girl is interested in him. Suddenly, the girl is handed the guy's personal files. The brunette begins to remember the appearance of the pervert who caught him at the lake, and the new one, after which she realizes with horror that they are the same person. A member of the fair sex who handed over Feng Qin's documents notices the reaction of her friend, hurrying to find out if she knows this guy. The brunette starts babbling about the fact that she doesn't know him, but he just seemed familiar to her, after which she adds for greater persuasiveness that she doesn't know any guy at all. Linya Sun notices that since there is a boy in their school now, they should get rid of him. The 2 girls who were standing nearby and heard this disagree. One doubts this, because it has a chance that the boy will be normal. Another notes the important fact that the guy was transferred personally by the headmistress, so if you try to remove him, it's better not to do it openly. The student council president has to agree with these arguments. The blonde suggests just watching the newcomer from the side, because there is a possibility that they will not even have to interfere, because he got into class 1, in which he will have to face 4 witches. Friends approve of this decision, calling Lin Yusong a genius. The student council president tries to hide his embarrassment by saying that the female students can go. Lin Yasun and the green-haired girl remain in the room. The headmistress's daughter clarifies what the girl needs, and the headmistress, in turn, notices that I know perfectly well that she is allergic to alcohol, so she does not need to pretend that she has wine in her glass and not grape juice. These words anger the blonde, who claims that she just likes to drink grape juice from a glass. Chapter 1-8. The homeroom teacher tells the students that the first thing she needs is for someone to help her bring textbooks to the entire class. Since there is only one male representative in the class, she politely addresses Feng Qin with this request. The hero is surprised by this, so he still decides to help, realizing that he has already been given the first assignment. Ms. Tongfei suggests that Feng Ke can help the newcomer. The blonde refuses, saying that she doesn't feel well today. In fact, she was being glared at menacingly by the pink-haired neighbor who volunteered to help Feng Qin the next moment, assuring her that she would go along with him. Seeing the unusual state of the girl with pink hair, the guy assumes that she is being bullied. Outside in the corridor, Feng Qin starts a conversation with Han Yuding. He reminds the fairer sex that they met a few days ago. He tells her that he helped return the bag to her. The interlocutor nods to indicate that she remembers, then thanks the hero again for this and suggests that we talk later. The hero has no choice but to accept this offer. Feng Qin ponders the situation to himself. He understands that it would be strange if a guy who has just been transferred to a school where they hate guys starts talking to one of their classmates. The hero exhales heavily, realizing that it will be very difficult for him to communicate with girls. Noting that it has become boring, the hero decides to sit on the phone. Opening the notifications, he sees the Qiuzhang news, which says that a 1,000-year-old golden Buddha statue was found, and when it was opened, an unknown spirit got out. After reading this notice, Feng Qin thinks to himself that this is some strange news. During a break, Han Yuding approaches the guy. She turns abruptly to either side, feeling very shy as she does so. Realizing that no one is around, she apologizes. This behavior of the fair sex strikes the hero, so he rushes to find out what she is apologizing for. The pink-haired girl explains that she apologized for not wanting to talk to him before. She begins to mumble something, trying to find a more or less common reason, but the hero decides to take everything into his own hands. He assures that he understands everything perfectly, so the interlocutor should not worry about this. In addition, he claims that he does not resent her at all for this. Feng Qin suggests pretending in front of everyone that they don't know each other, but in fact, they will be friends. The guy makes allowances for the fact that all this will be with the consent of the interlocutor. Han Yuding says she doesn't mind. At the same time, 4 witches gather in the hallway of the school. Moya Zhao notices that the newcomer seems to be wary of them. Tong Fei Lu speculates that the reason for this may be that today is only the first day of his arrival at school. After that, she decides to ask her friend Xiaoxu Nangong for her opinion, but Nangong Xiaoxu doesn't say anything. Chapter 1-9. The friend repeats the question again, wanting to know the opinion of the friend, and the friend, in turn, lays out the cards on the desk. She pulls out one of them thoughtfully, then gets nervous because she doesn't quite understand what it all means. Unexpectedly, the 4th witch says that they should leave this guy alone and let him finish this year in peace. This puts the other 3 witches in a stupor, while Nangong Xiaoxu herself leaves her friends. Moya Zhao is surprised by Nangong's behavior. She doesn't understand what happened to her, noting the fact that she's never seen her like this. Wei Wei Tong assumes that their friend has guessed something unusual on her cards. A member of the fair sex with pink hair asks an important question, whether they will listen to the advice of Nangut or not. Moya confidently declares that this will not happen, because it will mean that all their hard work last year was for nothing. Tong Fei Lu suggests that they continue their work as planned, only trying to be more careful. Both friends agree with these words in unison. That's when Lu wonders what's so special about this guy. After the hero returns to the classroom, a girl with red hair approaches him. This is Moya Zhao. She thanks a classmate for helping their teacher with their textbooks. Feng Qin, on the other hand, maintains an outward calm, claiming that there is nothing special about it. Inwardly, he curses, not knowing what the hell she wants from him. Then the interlocutor hands him a bottle of water, saying that he probably wants to drink. The hero thanks the girl for the water, stating that he will drink it later. Mentally, however, he knows that he will not do this. He also wonders if the girls really think he's so stupid or not. He puts the bottle back in his desk. Zhao, seeing this, is unhappy with this development, but she quickly says goodbye to the guy. She smiles at him, telling him that they'll see each other later. At the same time, the blonde says that she doesn't feel well, so she asks Han Yuding to wash the windows for her. The girl agrees, but her face shows that she is nervous. Her hands are shaking, and the blonde yawns, glad that class is finally over. Feng Qin makes a mental note that he thinks the blonde is doing just fine. Chapter 1-10. The hero stays after school to help her friend with window cleaning. Han Yuding shyly thanks him for this, and the guy only says that the girl should let him know if she needs help again. From these words, the fair sex representative bows her head, embarrassed and blushing, but still squeezes out the words of acceptance. Feng Qin returns to his room. He takes off his clothes with a heavy sigh. The hero wants to take a bath after a hard day of school. At this time, a brunette with a katana, who is a member of the disciplinary committee, bursts into his room. She declares that the hero is a dirty pervert and is ready to tear him to shreds, claiming that she has been looking for him for a long time. A representative of the fair sex first turns white, and then is filled with red paint from what she saw. She went into the guy's room while he was changing. Feng Qin appears in front of a brunette in her underwear. He turns half sideways to face her. The girl sees a raised torso and a slightly thin body. It is clear that the hero was going to take off his underpants. The brunette's eyes widen. She starts to mumble something, but no more or less adequate word leaves her mouth. The brunette closes her eyes with a cry that the guy has completely lost his shame. Feng Qin, on the other hand, is amazed that each of their meetings ends like this. The entire red girl is unable to control her actions, so when the hero asks her to stop shouting, she ignores him. This encourages the guy to take action. He takes off, and when he gets close enough, he puts his hand over the intruder's mouth. Slightly miscalculating the speed, the hero knocks the girl down. They freeze for a moment. The realization that the guy is only in one pair of shorts on it comes to the brunette not immediately. Feng Qin asks the girl to keep her voice down. He has a displeased face, and the representative of the fair sex herself blushes all over, unable to utter a word. Seeing that the brunette does not listen to him, the hero asks her to be silent again, slightly hinting that if someone sees them in this form, it will be very bad. The girl, when the guy's palm leaves her lips, starts shouting, which gives him 3 seconds to remove his hands from her, after which, without waiting for any answer, she hits the guy's sensitive crotch with her foot. This is a very hard hit. My testicles break. There is a deathly silence. The hero holds back a cry of pain, then grabs his underpants, bending over the floors and falling exhausted to the floor. As Feng Qin struggles to recover, the brunette climbs to her feet. She is still confused by what is happening, and insults to the hero fall from her lips. She calls him a pervert, a psycho, a preoccupied, a freak, a jerk, and a nutcase. Chapter 1-11. Shivering, the hero rises to his feet. In his mind, he curses being dealt such a heavy blow. The girl continues to hit him, but this time it's a mental taka. The brunette calls him a freak, a brute, and a geek. Taking the blow on himself, the guy shouts back that this is his room. A retaliatory blow forces the fair sex to come to her senses. She recalls that the guy started it all, because he first spied her swimming in the lake. Feng Qin makes an uncomprehending expression, then declares that this is a public place and he was just passing by it. The hero goes on a counterattack, claiming that the girl swam in the lake, desecrating a public place. It hits the brunette in the heart. She starts to get angry. Her fingers curl into fists. She tries to find at least some excuse for her action, but in the end, not finding anything better, she decides to challenge the guy to a duel. The guy asks again about what the interlocutor said. His eyes widen, and then he reminds me that the Qing dynasty has long since destroyed a person, and now it's a new era. The brunette stands her ground, declaring that she will not let the guy go just like that, because he humiliated her twice. To this, Feng Qin replies understandingly that he did indeed see her naked. However, just now, the girl carried out her revenge. In his head, he equates broken eggs with a feast for the eyes. This confuses the brunette. She demands that the other person get dressed. At the same time, she blushes all over. The hero, realizing that he is still in his underwear, blushes red, stating that he would have already done this if the girl had been silent. He starts to pull on his shirt. Heavy breathing, a representative of the fair sex leaves the room. Before closing the door, she tells him that she will be waiting for him at 12 o'clock in the evening in the training hall, and if the guy has to, then she asks not to blame her for what will happen to him later. After these words, the brunette closes the door and leaves. The hero grabs his head, not understanding at all what is happening. The rest of the day passes quickly and unnoticed. The hero goes to the meeting point. He's very nervous. This time, he decides not to wear a wig or makeup. Approaching a small 2-story building with a light on, the guy realizes that the meeting place should be here. The full moon had already risen in the sky. The guy enters a dojo that already has him in it. A brunette is waiting. In her hands is a katana, and she says that she thought that he would not come. The brunette clarifies what would have happened if he hadn't come. A representative of the fair sex takes a stand, stating that tomorrow the interlocutor will drown in Tokyo Bay. Feng Qin yawns, claiming that he wants to go to bed early, so he asks his opponent to finish quickly. An evil aura appears around the girl, and she says that the guy should not worry, because he will lie in bed for a month, starting tomorrow. The hero, without any interest, says that he is very, very scared. After such an attitude, the brunette loses her temper, noting that the interlocutor asked for it. She sits up, taking a stance from some style, then abruptly breaks off in the direction of the guy. The brunette with a furious cry breaks down on the hero, intending to teach him a lesson for all the bullying that he did to her. The guy also gracefully dodges the attack of a representative of the fair sex, after which he turns out to be behind her to conduct an easy attack. The girl doesn't understand what's going on. Feng Qin tries to take the katana from his opponent. Once behind her, he grabs the handle right through the girl, who is horrified by the guy's speed. The brunette continues to resist, not allowing her to take away her weapon so easily. Then the hero makes a very passionate exhalation in her ear. This causes the girl to turn around and lose control out of embarrassment. This is exactly what the guy needed, who immediately takes control of the katana. The brunette lets go of his opponent, causing her to land on the floor. The guy crouches down next to her, claiming that he won this duel, so he demands that the girl does not bother him again. After these words, Feng starts to leave, but the brunette says that she is not finished yet. At the same time, she is all confused by this development of events. Feng glances over his shoulder, saying that if this happens again, he won't joke with the girl anymore. This introduces the fair sex into a stupor. She just got to her feet, catching the other's gaze, which read the seriousness of intentions. The girl falls back to the floor. She is angry because of her weakness. Her teeth start to grind, and the guy just notes that she should watch herself. Feng Qin returns to his apartment, where he immediately plops down on a sofa with 2 pillows. He notes to himself that the new semester begins with a thrill. The hero lies down on the bed, thinking that the brunette will bother him again, because finally she confidently told him that next time she can beat him. Then the other side of the girl appeared before Feng. She was absolutely weak and defenseless when she made such confident speeches. Her cheeks were flushed with embarrassment, and she was depressed. Her cry was like a cry of despair. Wrapping himself in the blanket, the guy notices that he has a bad feeling, but he puts it out of his mind, considering it a trifle because now it's time to go to bed. Morning comes. The guy gets dressed for school. This time, he decides to come without makeup or a wig. As he gets dressed, the hero notes that it's time to go back to school. The hero comes out of his room and sees that knife marks have appeared on his door. It scares him. He recalls the existence of 4 witches in the class, so he assumes that this is just the beginning of all the troubles. Feng senses something is wrong, knowing that today will be an unusual day. Problems appear out of nowhere. The hero buries his face in his desk, swearing to himself that he forgot to eat breakfast. Time passes slowly. At 10 o'clock he feels hungry, and at 12 he begins to starve to death. It's almost noon. The guy goes to the dining room, where there are already people. He looks down at the food, and then stars light up in his eyes. He notes that the food looks amazing. Feng Qin picks up a tray of food, then starts to find a place to eat. In the dining room there are only 4 tables, each of which is designed for 4 people. The hero notices that. He was lucky, because one of the tables is free, so he decides to sit down at it, so as not to disturb anyone. There's an awkward silence. All representatives of the fair sex begin to look askance at the guy. The hero also has questions about why the air froze. He doesn't like everyone looking at him. Then a voice from behind asks if the guy knows this is his place. The brunette enters the dining room and says the last words. She has green eyes, and she looks calmly at the troublemaker. Chapter 1-13. Fen's eyes start to spin. He notes that this girl is a real beauty. The brunette also asks if the guy is finished. The hero also apologizes, assuring that he is sorry. After that, the representative of the fair sex demands that the guy leave and not touch the lunch without her. Feng Qin replies that he will just change the place. The brunette claims in response that all the seats are around her, so he can't sit anywhere. This begins to make the hero very angry, who is dissatisfied with what is happening. The hero decides to act boldly and decisively. He gets up from his seat and approaches the impudent girl. He asks her what would happen if he sat at the same table with her. Then he asks her if she will kick him out. Other girls start burying the new boy because he dared to stand up to choose Ioyi. The brunette herself notices that Feng Qin is a very interesting boy. The guy sits down with his tray of food at the same table with a dangerous representative of the fair sex. He decides that he will just ignore her so that he can finish his meal quickly and leave this troublesome place. But he is shocked by what is happening around him. The other students, instead of eating, start chatting among themselves, focusing all their attention on their table. The guy doesn't understand that this is so. Fenya's jaw is ready to say hello to Paul, because the brunette has brought a bunch of different delicacies. He's amazed that she's going to eat it all by herself. The brunette immediately starts eating, picking up a knife and fork. After finishing the food, the hero decides to just leave. In his mind's eye, he remembers the look the girl gave him. He begins to assume that it is not simple, because of which he may have problems. In the corridor, the hero runs into a friend with pink words. They don't exchange words, but she pushes a small note into his hand, then abruptly runs away. This surprises the guy a little. After entering the classroom, Feng Qin sits down at his desk, thinking about what happened. He's surprised that it's all so mysterious, and Han Yu-ding is making him worry. The guy unfolds a note with a number written on it. He draws a parallel in his head with the fact that he is a real spy. When the lessons are over, the hero returns to the dorm, where he immediately dials a number on pieces of paper. He immediately tries to find out why Han Yu-ding is acting so mysterious. In response, the girl shouts that the guy has big problems. The guy asks what the problem is. The friend also explains that today the hero offended a girl who has a very impressive family. The guy also says that a friend should not get into his head, because he is already offended. He asks her to have a good rest. After saying this, Feng Qin hangs up the phone. He doesn't believe that the girl is really strong. To him, she's a crazy kid with a silver spoon or a gangster lady. The guy notes that he is very angry. Besides, he doesn't understand that she can do it. He suggests that perhaps castrate. At this time, a person from around the corner throws a can of gas into the room. Feng Qin falls to the floor, panting. He can't move, and in his mind's eye, he notes that he's a good actor, so someone should save him.